Ladies and gentlemen, before we kick off episode 4 of the Potnas podcast, here are the results of the Super Bowl wager between JT and Courtney.
What's up, bro?
What's going on? This is JT from the Potnas podcast. And I was just calling because I was looking for your brother, Courtney.
He's unavailable.
You hear him? He's gonna be hiding for you for a while, bro.
Oh, no. We need to make sure that we get this recorded and live. Go ahead and, Chris, could you please do me a favor and bring the camera to Corn's face? Hey, Courtney, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right, bro. It's not that big.
It's not that big of a deal. Look, Courtney, I need 10 push-ups right now.
I can't. I'm on.
No, no, that is not the stipulations,
The game
sir. Get.
Oh, okay.
Wow, unbelievable. That just goes to show you the type of man that he is. Oh man.
Hey, we're gonna make sure you do him though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hey, Courtney, if you can hear this, if you can hear me, it was a pleasure doing business with you, my man. I cannot wait until we reunite later on this week and talk about it on the episode.
You're now tuning into the sounds of the Potnas podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of the Potnas podcast. Oh, yeah. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're probably wondering, wait a minute, they didn't start off with a freestyle this episode. Well, because we are actually missing one of our Potnas, Dino. He could not be here and make it today, but we do have a pleasant surprise for you all. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and get into our introductions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potnas podcast, where we are delivering our perspective on topics, news, and shit. We are your hosts, the Potnas. Starting from the left end of the table, we got Mr. Corn Pop himself, Cornito.
Hey, what's going on?
Next up, we got myself, JT, a.k.a. Young Tizzle, also known as the Live Thrizzle, the life of the party, Mr. Northside Son.
Hey, that's the shortest you've ever introduced yourself.
Hey, man. Well, that's just because we got to make room. Is that what it is? That's because we're trying to make way and make room for, last but not least, the Potnas' First Lady, the lovely, the magnificent Samantha Marie, a.k.a. SamBam.
Hey. What up?
Hello, SamBam.
Hey.
Welcome to the Potnas podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Man,
Ladies and
shout
gentlemen.
out to Sam.
Yeah.
This is the lady behind the video
it all.
camera.
I was
Yes,
kidding.
of course.
Behind the camera, she's the one that's running our itinerary. She keeps us on track. And and she has stepped from behind the camera to join us here today to carry us into episode 4 of the Potnas podcast. And we are super excited to have you contributing to today's conversation. It is February 8th. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. And we cannot wait to get into today's shenanigans. So first up, we want to go ahead and just get into an introduction. Sam, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about yourself.
All right, like as you said, my name is Samantha. That's my government, but nobody calls me that. I go by Sam or SamBam. Let's see. I am the current producer for the show, so you will find me behind the scenes.
From Houston?
I am actually from a suburb outside of Houston.
Pearland is not Houston.
Womp, womp, womp.
No, they don't get a womp womp. You know, be proud of where you come from.
It's
you know?
the same.
No, it
Privilege
taught me.
town.
I'm appreciative for what it gave me, and everything's a lesson, right? If you don't take it as a blessing, as a lesson.
Chilling with the whites.
And my current job, I am a kindergarten teacher right now.
Yeah,
It's my fourth year in public education.
Okay, all right. Give it up for the kids. Yeah.
And also, you are currently
And I am in grad school as well.
Yes,
I'm studying to become a school counselor. Hopefully.
Nice.
super dope.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the current news. Miss Cardi B, new video, the new video that just came out.
Interesting topic.
It's a lot.
Actually, let's go ahead and play a little snippet of the song right quick. Hey, yeah. Oh,
Once upon a time,
Yeah.
and I heard that I was ugly.
What?
Came from a bitch who nigga wanna fuck on. I said my face bomb, ass tight, rack stuck up shack height. Jury on me, flashlight. I've been listening last night. Hit him with that good, make a nigga act right. Broke boys don't deserve no pussy. I know that's right.
I know that's right. Wait, hold on. All right, so it's
of all-
so funny. Okay, go ahead.
Nah, I was gonna say that song is fire.
Yes, that's
You can't help but groove to it.
that song is going to carry us into the summer.
She came with that one.
Initial thoughts? Have you seen the video?
Yes. So I saw the video.
Yeah, she banging.
No, she's
The
beautiful.
video is hot. The video is real sexy.
Yeah.
I think.
What part, Corn? What part's the most sexy to you?
I mean, you know, I gotta. If you've watched the video, anybody, male or female, can agree that was a very, very hot video. I think what's interesting is that people always have like things to say about Cardi B. You know what I mean? Like
Great things.
great things, but also it comes with a little bit of negativity. It's always something, right?
She's one of the most high-profile female artists in the game right now.
Yeah, and I think she's making it comfortable for people to be themselves. Like I think the good thing about Cardi B is that like what you see in her music, what you get, the vibe you get from her is like literally her. Like I feel like if she was in this room right now, she would have that same vibe.
Absolutely. I got a problem with her kissing other women in the video.
I mean, do you,
not even
bro?
kissing. She was like a tongue and
Yeah, that's cool with me.
Yeah.
That was your
problem.
interpretation?
Yeah, I mean,
Ew.
but she's that's who she is though. I mean, she's a.
Oh, she goes both ways?
Yes.
Didn't know that. And then what about the broke nigga comment? I don't like that part because, you know, we all came from.
Why? Because you a broke nigga?
Come on.
These niggas prayed on my downfall.
Nah,
Sam, what? Look, you know we're going to have to talk about this after the episode.
Why?
hey, you got a bad rep, JT. From the cheap bitch.
Yo. Well, that's a video clip. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. Moving on. Sam, you are, we wanted to kind of get your take on last week's episode where we covered black through different lenses. Corn, you want to go ahead and
No,
kick
yeah, I
things
was
off?
going to say, I think Sam having her perspective is actually really, really good because, you know, when we talked last episode, you know, we talked about our family dynamic, but me, you, and Darian all share the fact that we are all 100% African American. Right. Sam has a biracial background, so I think it'll be good to get her perspective on how she obviously grew up, you know, and her thoughts on a couple of other things. So, I guess to kick it off, Sam, you want to just kind of dive in and give your perspective?
I just backtracking to episode 3. I thought it was also interesting that maybe even though all three of y'all are 100% African American, y'all all grew up on the same side of Houston. Y'all don't really share a common upbringing, even though y'all went to the same high school. Like your family dynamics are so different, and that's what makes this topic so beautiful because there's so many different lenses. And then me being biracial, so I am biracial. My mom is 100% Hispanic, but she is white passing, like extremely. And
Wait, so white passing? Explain yourself real quick.
white passing. So aesthetically, if you were to see my mom walk by in the grocery store, you would just identify her as a white woman.
Okay.
You wouldn't think anything else. You'd just like, okay, that's another white woman. But she's actually 100% Mexican. And my biological father is black, 100% African American.
Okay.
And then put it together, you get moi. And I grew up calling myself Blaxican.
Really?
I did.
At a young age, you were like, yeah, it's just I identify as Blaxican.
Blaxican. But it was nothing I ever verbalized.
I heard
it was
that
like
growing up.
it was an internal
Yeah.
label that I gave myself.
Can I ask you? And I don't mean to keep cutting
you're
in.
good.
But what did you ever hear from other people? Like, did anyone else, like, you know how when we're young, they're like, oh, you're not black, or oh, you are, like, I don't know, like.
Oh, absolutely. So growing up in Pearland, Pearland is predominantly Caucasian, like extremely, like I guess like 95% white. And then we didn't get like an influx of minorities until Hurricane Katrina, when people were evacuating from Louisiana. And that's when we got a little bit of flavor.
So with you,
No, but I grew up like obviously like I just went about my day like normal. I didn't like put colors or labels on it, but I was internally I struggled in that I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't think like I was supposed to look like this because I had big frizzy curly hair. Everybody else was like white, blue eyes, straight blonde hair, and I couldn't go anywhere to see someone that looked like me, which is why I think it's so beautiful now, like the diversity that's seen or being attempted to be seen in media and through literature, that kids can look and see them is great. But because I didn't grow up seeing that, and I couldn't even go home and tell my mom how I felt because my mom didn't understand. Like, I think one time she told me, and I don't think she'll ever remember that she told me this, but it stuck with me. She's like, one regret that I have in my life is I wasn't prepared to bring Black children into a world that wasn't ready for them.
That's actually really deep.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's real.
interesting.
So I was in 8th grade when she said that, because around that same time, no, 7th grade, around that same time, I was getting off of a bus in Pearland, walking into school. I was in 7th grade, and there was a white boy, I will never forget this moment, who rode the bus with me. He got off the bus, and I'm just minding my business, walking into class, and he decides to spit on me. And was very proud of it and was like, hey, look, everybody, I just spit on the nigger with the hard R.
Whoa.
Yes.
With the ER?
ER. And laughed.
And y'all was like young when this happened?
I was in 7th grade, so like
my
what, like
God.
12, 13?
Wow.
unbelievable.
No, but that goes
What
to
did you
show
do?
that, like, oh yeah, I'm sorry.
What did I do? I was like in shock, and so like I was still like naive and young and didn't really have a voice to like counter that. So I went and just went through school throughout the rest of the day, and then I went home and told my mom, and my mom was like blatantly upset. Clearly, she tried to file charges, tried to identify the boy, which it was charged. We tried to talk to the principal. Nothing happened to him. He got a slap on the wrist, pretty much, and charges couldn't be filed because it was like inconclusive or something. So he just lived to go throughout his day.
Even though that happened so long ago, like, man, that shit still pisses me off, man.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen to us, especially on the north side. Boy, we
Nah, but to be, what shocks me the most, like, is a 7th grader having that kind of mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like, who thinks to do some shit like that in the 7th grade against somebody else because of their skin tone? Like, that doesn't even. That's wild. That means that kid's parents is like
Extreme.
far gone.
So
Like,
you've clearly experienced some racism growing up.
Yeah, and aside from like the normal comments like, oh, you're pretty for a Black girl and all that stuff. Like if I were to date anybody, you'd be the darkest I'd go. Like aside from like, that was like everyday stuff. Like that's like, that wasn't shocking when it was said to me growing up. Like it just kind of rolled off your back at that point. People saying it so many times.
So let's go back to the Black Lives Matter movement in summer 2020. So when that was at its peak during the summer last year, was everybody in your family and friend group like on board? Like who wasn't and why?
I think it was interesting because when George Floyd, it was what really hit me the hardest. And I had moments of just like bawling, crying alone in New Jersey, just like upset about like just so angry and upset. And I was upset with how people were responding or lack thereof responding. Meaning, so for my mom, for example, she was very active on social media. My mom is one of those that's very active on Facebook and all that stuff. And she had yet to post anything, like even like a little quote just to acknowledge that she saw what's happening and didn't agree with it. And so that upset me. So I was like, built up the anger, and I reached out and I was like, do you not have an opinion on what's going on? Or like in Black Lives Matter. And it was through a text thread, which was probably how not this conversation should have happened. But regardless, what's done is done. And she responded something along the lines of, what happened to George Floyd is tragic. However, which Should never have been stated in the same sentence. People shouldn't be rioting. It's not going to solve anything. Everybody's lives matter, regardless of the color of your skin.
What? That nigga's tripping.
So she referenced it back to like an all lives matter type thing. And I just couldn't respond because it upset me so much. I was like, I need to respond to her in a time when I'm not this angry because it's not going to be a progressive conversation.
Right.
The fact that she had the nerve to, in my head, I was like, she has the nerve to say all lives matter to her daughter, knowing that she's biracial and identifies with Black culture as a Black woman. And like, this is my people. When I become a mother, I'm producing Black children into this world.
Right.
And like,
You damn right you are.
Better hope so. No, no, but let's. Okay, so
That was a whole ass move by you, bro.
I know. My bad. This is my question though. So, do you think that those kind of responses come from? Because this is how I try to look. Like my thing is, I always try to look for somebody, or like I try to look for perspective. Like why would somebody come out and say it that way? Do you think it's just a kind of an ignorance of not understanding, like not reading the room, or if it's more so just like not really truly giving that compassion towards, Black people at the time? That
I think it can go either way depending on the person. But with my mom, I didn't want to believe that it was ignorance because she's had 30 plus years to know that you have Black children. So you don't get to be ignorant. Like, you're not allowed to be ignorant. So that's why I was upset. So I didn't want to write it off. I was like, oh, she doesn't know better. But so anyways, time passed or whatever. I went to my family, like my sister. I went to my husband, and I was like, what do I do to respond to this? Like, am I wrong for being upset about it? And then they're like, let's talk through it. I had to work through it on my own. And then eventually my mom reaches out again. And she was like, are you mad at me? Is it because I said this? And I was like, with referencing the All Lives Matter. And I was like, well, if that's why I'm mad, then don't ask me if you know. And then she was just like, well, I had to take the time to go. I had to go talk to my Black coworkers, and I have her read the message, and she said she didn't see anything wrong with it. I think it was like a generational thing. So because she was older, but I researched and I understand how you could have been upset with what I said, and I'm sorry. So.
Well, that was big of her.
I was very grateful and appreciative. And that's what a true ally should do. You take your time to educate yourself onto why something's wrong. And so for that and for her doing that and taking that step further, I am forever grateful. And I do love my mom, like regardless of like whatever this mishap that we had. And she took it as an opportunity to learn. And now she knows how I feel.
But I
Let's
think
give it up
that's
for her. Cool.
I think that's interesting too. Question: do you think that as African Americans, job of us to educate people who don't have that understanding, or do you think people should take it upon themselves? Because I had this conversation with a lot of people, and I've got mixed reviews. A lot of people are like, yeah, you should be able to extend yourself, and kind of like, some people just don't know. They don't know what they don't know.
And they need to figure it out. They need to educate themselves if they, you know what I mean? Like, it's not our job to educate. Like, we can offer, and that's people's personal convictions, whether they do it or not. But it is not our duty as Black people to educate the white people who brought us here about why we're upset about things. Like,
you got Google, you got social media, and you got all these avenues and all these technological advances, at your disposal to, educate yourself. And if we are, as a people are expected, to know how to navigate through finances and life and in job interviews, then them motherfuckers can learn how to, like just go talk to a Black person that they know. Cause of course, everybody got a Black friend, apparently,
I have a Black friend at work. I'm not racist.
Go talk to your local Black person, and figure out, hey.
So, no, I mean, that's a very, very valid point.
They just need to take more initiative to hear where we're coming from. It's too apparent now, like the Black struggle. It's everywhere now. I mean, it's.
So you would say that there's essentially no excuse.
There's no excuse, right? Exactly. Okay. Like you have all the educational tools at your disposal, and you need to have some type of initiative. And if you don't put initiative into trying to learn more of being an ally, that right there shows just how much you just don't care.
I actually
That's
have a personal story that can tie into that. I had a close friend of like almost 10 years, right? She was going to be the maid of honor in my wedding, but had to be cut to not be. So she wasn't my maid of honor. She was nowhere in the wedding party. So if you look back at wedding pictures, she's not going to be pictured. But we were friends for growing up for a long time. We went to Pearland together, whatever. We were like really, really close. Like everybody knew us as like a dynamic duo, right? So fun story. She was biracial too, but she was white and Hispanic. And her dad is like true Hispanic, like darker complected. They were raised racist, like both of them. Like her dad told her, like, I'd rather you bring home a woman before you brought a black man into my house.
Damn.
Like type thing.
That's strong.
And we became friends, and I was in her quince actually, so 15 years old. And I found out years after her quince had happened that she lied and told her parents that I was like Brazilian and not black, in other words, in order to be in her quince.
What?
And she like said it like nonchalantly as if like I wasn't going to be offended by it like the years later. But needless to say, she had a baby now. It's all fine. We were hanging out, and her mom was a huge Trump supporter, her mom being the white parent. And which baffles me because like she too has biracial children who are Hispanic and a grandson, but regardless. So I was hanging out at their house one day, and they're decorating the Christmas tree. Somebody makes a funny comment, or so they thought was funny, saying like, "Oh, look, I'm building a wall." And the mom then responds,
Building a wall with what?
With the tinsel, like the garland, like
okay.
wrapping the garland around the tree was like a reference to building a wall. And right. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, whatever. And then the mom responds, well, the sister had said that.
Oh, okay.
The mom responds, she's like, yeah, build that wall. Keep out all the Mexicans and the, again, N-word hard R, with me sitting in the room.
Yo, what?
Yes.
Keep the Mexicans and niggers out.
And
is what she said. Okay.
In front of the baby, he's not really a baby. He's like old enough, like 2, 3, old enough to like repeat things that are being said. And I was like, okay, I can't not just not say something. I was like, really? Like that's what you feel obligated to say right now, especially with me sitting here right here in the room? And then my friend, who was not my friend anymore, then responds, oh, so now you're black?
Oh, wow. Good Lord. And y'all had been friends for
like 8 years.
What?
Oh my God.
And then so I left.
Bruh.
Like livid. And then like I was like, okay, let me try to let her know why I'm upset. So I tried to reach out. We had dinner.
Better than me.
We had dinner, and I was like trying to explain to her that I was wrong. And then she used the excuse, which she said, well, this is why I was raised. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you expect me? And I was like, you're 23 years old now. Like, you are allowed to make your own opinions. And if you want to keep me as a friend and like my husband and the future children that I'm going to bring into this world in your life, like you need to make a change. Because God forbid you say something like that in front of my child. And then now it's a whole nother narrative.
She had been at y'all's house.
She's been in my house. She's
couple times.
Yeah,
right?
she's been
several
around
times.
us.
Yeah.
Several
Right.
times.
And the energy was never there.
It
well, I guess maybe now
was
that you
subtle there.
No,
Okay.
granted, it was in the
like
comfort of their
throwing
own
shade.
home.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they were in the comfort of their own home.
Yeah.
And for her to be that comfortable and to say that those hurtful things with Sam in her presence, almost as if it was a verbal bullet meant for Sam.
Right. To see how she would react.
Yeah,
to see what she would say.
Yeah, and to see what you can get away with. That
and
is
then
the white
so
privilege.
I had to look back at our friendship and like had to think about all the other times she said some slick shit, and I was like, you know what? She said this before, and it was like low key subtle shade. And I remember one time, I don't know if you remember, we were at dinner in San Antonio, and her mom came over, and like she had met JT, and she was like, oh my God, I can't believe, Sam, how could you find the whitest black man? Like, we love him. Like, insinuating or that being educated and well-spoken was white.
Right.
And so, like, I was like, okay, no. So I, like, talked over, made the decision, and I was like, I just need to cut her from my life. Like, completely. Not even just for my wedding, but, like, life.
Yeah, and props to you for doing that. I remember just going back in retrospect, the effort that you made to go and talk to and get perspective from all of us, how to assess the situation, how to go about moving forward. And, we were in the process of getting ready for our wedding.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And
that's a big decision to make at that time.
Now, my opinion, I was just like, hey man, cut that bitch off, and move on. You know what I'm saying? But just because like my tolerance level is like, yo, we're grown adults. You should know better at this point, and if you're going to continue to behave like this, it's not going to be tolerated. And it's time. It's a I said what I said type of year. Actually, it's a I said what I said type of lifestyle now. You're not going to no longer get by. It's 2021, and you're no longer going to get by with those slick, shady comments like that, and think that things are going to be cool. Because if we don't address it, then they're going to continue to happen. Things like that are going to continue to happen, and then we're right back into square one, right in the same struggle hole.
I had a good question for y'all.
Yes.
So I love it because I think, okay, so there's two sides, right? So you have a situation like that. That's way different than somebody kind of coming out saying, well, yeah, man, we everybody matters. Like we all matter. Like versus someone who's blatantly against,
Right.
whatever. But this is my question. So from a moving forward standpoint, I want y'all's opinion on this. We move forward. You have friends who at this point still don't get it, right? They still don't get it. You can either either A, cut them off, right? I said what I said, or B, take some time to challenge their perspective, educate them. But that also takes effort and time out of yourself. And I think about from a grand scheme of things as an America, like how do we press forward? Because think about it, you cut somebody off, that person is now floating out in the wind and feels that way. They have never, the only thing that's going to challenge them is until somebody comes up and forces their opinion to change, right? So
well, I will counter that comment right there with saying, okay, but what if people don't want to change? You can't change people who don't want to change.
Get to that. Yeah. So I think, so I was going to ask you guys, so do y'all think that there are people who just won't change and that moving forward, we're going to be our best selves by helping those who can and want help? Or do you how do y'all think is the best way to fix, I don't know. That's just
I mean, like that's where I was initially trying to get at is after, 2 or 3 times of trying to lead you to the water, after a couple of attempts and you're still not making any efforts trying to educate yourself, because at some point we have to try to move forward in the same direction.
Because change is uncomfortable, and people don't want to step out of that comfort bubble to make such a drastic thing. So they're just going to be complacent with the lifestyle that, oh, my parents raised me like this, so I don't know anything. And it's just more comfortable and easy for them. But I commend those people who do step out and be like, no, I want to learn. I want to do that. But honestly, I haven't crossed any of those people. So I don't know how I would go about it.
How would you handle that situation?
So at this point, I'm at a good place. I'm willing to offer my assistance if anyone has questions. People have called me. People have reached out. I've had those conversations. They were really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I've invited it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, hit me up. Especially if I consider you a friend and you really just don't believe what I believe and you want to have a conversation about it. Yeah, let's talk.
You have white friends. And
I've had friends.
Do you both have white friends that have tried to make an effort to try to either rectify issues that you've had in the past, or to just at least, at the very least, address hey, it sucks what you all as a people are going through, but I just want to let you know that I'm here for you. Yes.
I have a friend actually, and she is a white friend, and during George Floyd, she reached out to me and Venmo'd me some money and was
Sam got paid. Sam getting checks out of it.
And that was her way of acknowledging, I guess, that what we was going through other people. And then she proceeded. I was like, and it was so random. I was like, did you mean to send me money?
Somebody said that on Twitter, and she probably was like, let me go ahead and cash out my black.
She's like, yeah. She's like, I know that JT can't be with you during this hard time because he was deployed at this point, and I know he can't be with you during the hard time. So I just wanted you to have dinner and a cocktail on me because I know it's hard,
that's so dope.
And I don't know it, but this is my way of I acknowledging that I see you.
That's
and I was
an example
I appreciated that. At first it threw me off. It did throw me off. I was like, why is she gonna pay me for being black? I was like, what? But
Yeah.
When she further explained it, I was like, that was her way.
I was gonna say
to
that was
show.
her way of, but it's not even about everyone else should do it. It's more so like this. She just had no idea, but she knew at least I could do something to offer my condolences.
Exactly.
And that's
Right.
as simple as it is. I mean, it could be anything. Like when you have friends that are going through something, pick up the phone, call, send a text, like showing that your appreciation, your understanding goes a long way, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
that's dope.
Sam, thank you so much for participating in today's episode. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get into a routine segment called The Toast. Today, we are dedicating it to the Potnas First Lady for sharing your story, for representing Black women, and for holding it down as our producer. So we're going to go ahead and give it up for you. Let's get these shots going. To the First Lady, to the Potnas First Lady. Ooh.
No, that's not. It's like,
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Potnas Podcast. D will be here next week for episode 5. And just to kind of give you all like a little preview of that, we're going to have an honorary partner, and we cannot wait to get into all the shenanigans that we're going to talk about on that episode. We're going to be diving into career progression and the hoops that we go through.
If y'all have any suggestions, any feedback, anything you would like to let us know, or you found anything super interesting from this podcast, our email address is contact@potnaspodcast.com, and that's contact@potnas podcast.com.
You can follow us on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at Potnas Podcast. That is at Potnas Podcast. Potnas Podcast. All right. My ad name. Let's get into ad names. Courtney.
Go ahead.
All right. Y'all can follow me at JT Got Soul. That's JT Got SOLE.
And yeah, this is Courtney. You can follow me at Javon_Cole92. That's JAVAN_COLE 92.
Oh yeah. All right. Miss
SamBam.
First Lady.
and you can find me at She Is SamBam.
Oh yeah.
Everything spelled the right way.
She is SamBam. SAMBAM. That's all we have for y'all. We can get some pistols.
Maybe.
It's because the intro is overpowering the pistols.
Yeah, it's all good.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Peace. It's the Potnas Podcast, you bitch. You know what I'm saying?